Welcome back. It's your boy that D on the Black Revolution. We're gonna talk about one topic. We're talking about black masculinity under attack, cancel culture, and Kevin Simmons. Let's get into it. Here we go. Hey, 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 hey. Alright, so it's your boy Dap Dan in the building. I got a very special guest. He is a rapper, a pro-black activist. He is one of the greatest poets of my generation. Give it up for Mr. Tyler Williams. How you doing, young brother?
Yeah, I appreciate that intro. How you doing today?
I'm good, man. So let's get into it, man. We all know that, black masculinity is especially under attack with all these athletes wearing these dresses and stuff. And we got all this stuff going on, and it seems like a lot of people are going with the go along, get along game. And why do you think black masculinity is under attack?
The why, that goes, a little far back. But I'll get into that in a sec. But I think that it's just a continuation of all those years ago when in slavery. I believe that the black man united, or even more specifically, the black family united, is a serious threat to the nation, and to our, let's say, our opposite shade. It's a threat to them. They believe that if we were to return to power, like when we had Black Wall Street, or maybe even at the time of Mansa Musa, or all these times where we were kings and queens and we didn't let anything or anyone come between our culture and our family. I believe that there's a serious that we could threaten their safety and their way of life as they are now. But what I was referring to earlier about the old times with the slavery, that's where that thought comes from. That's where that whole concept originated, with book breaking. With book breaking, they would the white masters, they would separate the men from their families, and then they would rape the black man and emasculate him. But they would make sure that the family watched from a distance, so they couldn't do anything. And if they tried to do anything, they were viciously beaten or killed. So that, this is a concept it's not new. It's just evolved. And the fact that people can't see it is kind of, daunting.
Whole lot of insight on that, my brother, and I agree with you on how this is not new. I was going back and just seeing the history of the buck breaking and documentaries and all this other stuff, and now you got it started it grew gradually within the 90s, where you had people like Martin Lawrence and Tyler Perry wearing dresses and stuff, and now granted they're actors, they're playing a character, but still it's the image of the black man being feminine. And now you got black men wearing dresses. Now, these are not even gay black men. These are just straight black men wearing dresses.
Yeah, that's the plan. Get them in, just wearing fingernail paint, all that. Like, I don't judge a man. I don't judge anybody. You know what I mean? I don't. The idea is to not judge the person, it's to judge the concept, or the idea that person supports their belief system. Mm-hmm. And that belief system is simply flawed, to put it, at best. Like, because, it's flawed because it's not saying that, homosexual tendencies or that culture is flawed. It's just saying, just like you said, there's people now that aren't even gay doing this because it's a trendy or it's popular. And that's the whole flaw. And I'm saying it is because that's what they want, is for black men to be emasculated, but can't simply beat us or rape us, like they used to. I mean, it still happens, but those are, of course, outliers. But they can't be out as open as they were before. So, of course, they make it to where they make it to in the higher ups, and they influence and they exert that influence, and then this is just what we have now. It's, that's only one form, you know what I mean? But it's all over media. It's all over, it's all over everything. Consumer, literally.
It's like, yeah, I agree with you. It's not a place you can go to where the black man is not even masculine. They want the black man to be feminine, to be weak, to be small, to be insignificant, and all the while, you know, creating the black woman to be masculine. It's like the roles are being flipped here. We have the black man be feminine and the black woman be masculine with this I'm independent mindset and
I don't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry, but that's the whole, like, the plan wasn't, to they wasn't getting into specifics about, the women flipping, gender roles, but the plan was simple. It was to separate and divide the black family and the black unit.
mm-hmm.
And the way you do that is to take, the power of that household away, which is the black man. He's the breadwinner, he's the provider, and the caretaker. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if you take that out, you're left with what we have now is a bunch of single black women, single black mothers, specifically, who, as we still see to this day, it's a war going on between black men and black women. He ain't shit, that nigga ain't shit, all bitches ain't shit, hoes up, money over hoes, all this has literally can be traced back to slavery, but literally it's because you take the black man out of the household, you turn subconsciously the black woman against him, because now she has to provide for herself, provide for her child or children, the family. She has to not only be her own emotional support, it has to be the financial support, physical labor in the house. So, of course, it's going to be quite a daunting task to, achieve. But that was the whole plan behind it, because once you do that, they don't have to fight us anymore, because the goal was to get us fighting against each other. And man, if that was the goal, man, they've passed it 10,000 times over, because that's all you see today, is literally you can go online and scroll, I don't know, once or twice down any page, any social media, and all you'll see is how much black women and black men are hating each other. Of course, we're starting to come back into ourselves, and realize our power and our true spirituality, and the power we hold in this nation and in ourselves. But after generations and generations and generations of our culture being shifted, it's just hard to shift back. So we're trying now, but it's going to be a task.
I feel like, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I urge all of my brothers and sisters to, just try and understand one another, instead of just listening to hear and not, hearing to listen.
Yes, I agree with you on that. I was going to go into how it even comes back to how the media portrays the black man and black woman. When the media portrays the black man, he's hyper masculine, he's a drug dealer, he's a pimp, slapping and mistreating his women and abusing them and raping them in some cases. And the black woman, they portray her as ratchet, as thottish, as sexually promiscuous and stuff, instead of educated, bright woman. And even if they are educated in the media, they always have this, mentality that they think they're above the black men, because they want to, like, it goes back to what we were saying, emasculate the black man and what have you. And I feel like, hey, it's going to take several generations for black people to shift our mindset back into, supporting each other and supporting the black family unit and the black household is going to take several generations, because after 400 years of just slavery and the poverty mindset, a he ain't shit mentality, it's going to take 400 more years to get back into supporting the black man, supporting the black woman, taking care of each other, believing in one another, pulling our resources together and what have you. And things of that nature. So speaking into black masculinity, going into it, there's been this talk in the dating circle when it comes to this one guy. He is predominantly a dating coach at this point. He's getting a lot of traction. The man goes by the name of Kevin Samuels, and he's become quite famous for his remarks against sometimes against the black woman and sometimes even against the black man. What do you think of his overall appearance in terms of the dating scene, Mr. Tyler?
The thing about Kevin Samuels is that everybody has all this, to say about him, but I've never heard once that he's wrong. I've never heard once that the advice that he's given is incorrect. I've never once heard that what he did for somebody did not help. Like, there's multiple stories out there, of him helping people, and they, are living proof. They themselves are the evidence. I forgot the stats, but he literally has stats on the people on the relationships that not only he saved, but the ones that he's created through his advice. He's got not only relationships, but long-lasting marriages under his belt. He could be a legit marriage counselor for all he know what I mean, all he knows, as well as he does his job. But what I gotta say about him is, I think people, well, not even people, more so women, because he does do videos on black men, although, he recently, he has admitted to doing more videos now on black women, but that's only because, that's what the people want to see, so you can't fault him for that.
Yeah.
But I will say, women can blame, they can blame him all they want, but are they getting the message? Are they just not wanting to hear that message from him? You can't, hate the messenger and then not receive the message. The question is, did you receive the message? You know what I mean? I forgot what comedian said that, man, but it was a great, I think it was Chappelle, man, but, correct me if I'm wrong, but pretty sure Chappelle said that, did you get the message? That's all that matters. He literally may come off in a way that, is, I don't know, unsettling for some people, but he's never once been rude. He may be blunt or direct, but he's never once been rude. And the only time he may get rude is when somebody's rude and it comes on his show. So he does nothing but reciprocate the energy that he receives. And all the energy he gives out is strict advice, none of which is subjective, all of which is objective advice based strictly on the demographic who he's talking to, based specifically on the geography of where they live. He's asking these questions on all his, how much do you weigh, how tall are you, just simple objective questions that we've already as a human race, we already acknowledged the science behind who's more willing, or well, not who's more willing, I'm sorry, but we already acknowledged statistically, levels of attractiveness. It's not even these are subjective stats that he's saying. All of this is researched, and he's done his due diligence. It's just, like I said, people don't want to hear it from him. And maybe it's not just him, but it seems like any male, they don't want to hear it from, because it's just maybe that Kevin Samuels got so, huge and got so big that, he's become a threat to their way of life. And that way of life is just simply stagnant. It's, becoming like comfortable with not trying to evolve or not trying to change for the better. And this is not me, simply dogging on women because, like we said, he is also giving advice to men, which should also very much well be taken heed to, because in his early days, he came out with videos strictly for men. That's what people, refuse to acknowledge. He didn't even start doing the women thing until a couple of years ago. I think it was like a year and a half ago, he said. And then he saw, that's what people wanted to see. But, when he first started off, he was literally talking about, financial gains. He was talking about, colognes and fashion,
Mm-hmm.
That's where he came from. Like, before he even got on YouTube, he was what did he say he was? He was a fashion, forgot the word, but he dressed people, basically.
Yeah, I think he was a image consultant beforehand, and then he went to the whole women thing.
Yes, exactly. So, it's, people just need to receive the message and stop hating the messenger, because like I said, there's plenty of other YouTubers and other voices out there that are saying the same exact things he's saying. He's just got a bigger voice. And so, of course, the bigger your voice is, the bigger the voices of the haters are, and the bigger that try to silence you are going to be. So that's how I feel about it. I personally, Kevin Samuels, I wouldn't say daily. I mean, I subscribe to him. I probably watch a video of his once a week. He definitely got some, solid advice for young men as well as young women.
Mm-hmm. And I agree with. I listened to a couple of his videos and everything. Now the live streams I tried to listen to, but I just didn't have the time to really complete the live streams, what have you. But I listened to a couple of his videos, and I legit agree with everything he says. Like, I have no real disagreements about what he says, except the fact of high value men don't cheat, they exercise their options. But other than that, that's pretty much the only thing I disagree with. But everything else,
we gotta talk about that. Why you disagree with that?
I mean, with the whole thing about high value men don't cheat, they exercise options. I mean, you can have, just because I will say this, like, when you're a high value man and you have all these options and stuff, yes, you can do all that if you're single. But when you're like in a quote unquote committed relationship and what have you, and you still doing that, that's not exercising your options anymore at that point. That's you actively cheating against your spouse or your lover and what have you. Now, I understand you have all the money, you have all the status and what have you, you can have liberty to do so. But my thing is, like, hey, when you're committed and what have you, you got to be loyal to that person, and that person got to be loyal to you. Because the other person is not loyal to you, then you can kick him to the curb. So be it. But
So I got a question for you. that's gonna like it's gonna shake up that whole statement you just said. So what do you feel, if that's your belief, well, how do you feel about Jada Pinkett and Will Smith and their entanglement?
I mean, with Jada Smith and Jada Pinkett and Will Smith, my thing with them is like, hey, listen.
I'm thinking what you cheating.
Yeah, my thing is like, with Will Smith, he shouldn't have put up with that mess. Oh, it's an open relationship. My ass is an open relationship. Like, what the hell? You just.
I mean, what do you consider that though? Like exercising your options, or do you consider that cheating?
I mean, I consider that cheating because, like, my thing is, when the two of them, y'all said y'all gonna marry and what have you, and then y'all quote unquote decide to do open relationship, but then now Will Smith is getting mad. I'm like, well, when you said that, oh, it's an open relationship and everything else, I'm like, you're putting it out there that you're giving her license to do that. So, but my thing is, hey, if you wanted her to be exclusively to you, you should have said that, oh, we're not doing the open relationship. But if you just gave that statement, oh, it's an open relationship, then that means basically like, oh, that means you're giving her the permission to exercise quote unquote options and what have you. But if you, like, for example, you're in a committed relationship and you're telling this one woman that you're my one and only one, there's no other woman besides you, and you cheat. That's what I'm saying. You shouldn't cheat and what have you. But if it's a quote unquote open relationship and you're quote unquote exercising options, okay, you can do that. You have the liberty to do it because you agreed that you're doing that. But you can't get mad when stuff happening. And Will's getting mad. Oh, Jada Pinkett Smith is cheating. I'm like, well, you just said that you're in an open relationship, so I'm confused as to like what y'all agreed upon. What did y'all agree upon? Is it open or is it not open?
That's the thing, like, how far do you stretch it? Because you got to think, like, okay, yeah, open relationship, but like, all that's not that's just one example. Like, that's not specified across the board. So let me try to come up with an example. More, not really an example, more for a. Let me explain. Let's see. So, like, if you have someone that, no, I can use an example. Let's say, like, this Bill Gates and Melinda Gates, who recently got divorced last year. They lived, they never lived together. Like, they haven't lived together for years. This was before the divorce. And, they're both, billionaires. And you got to figure, at that level of wealth, are they really, you really think they're, really, focused on love, or are they focused more so on legacy? Because I feel like at that level of wealth, you're focused on your legacy and not more so your plus, because your love life ends, your legacy doesn't. And people who have that level of power and that level of money and wealth have a certain mindset. And this is across the board. This is not specific to one person. And all those people who have that mindset, it would stand to reason, that exercising their options is not only a better way for them to have their relationship, because not only you got to think about it, the man is exercising their options, but they also, sometimes allow their women to exercise options because, as long as they, are in the public eye with them. This is, there are examples of this. I can't think of any off the top, but there's been, a few examples you can look up over the years where they just, celebrities have been exposed to having fake relationships. And these fake relationships were simply to appease the eyes of the masses. So you got to think about all these situations, you know what I mean? Like, wealthy guy, if you consider him cheating or, quote unquote, exercising his options because he's a wealthy man, then how do you feel when he allows his woman to exercise her options? Because, they're literally both on the same playing field, if you get what I'm saying, as far as relationships and dating goes. But since the guy's the head of the household and the breadwinner, what he says goes. So, I mean, how do you feel about that? Because, the example we just gave was Jada and Will. And like we both said and acknowledged, they were in an open relationship, meaning they both are free to do whatever they want. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And Will is a high value man. So, and in this specific example, we don't have any evidence of Will exercising any options. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like flipping this on his head. So it's like, I can see where you're coming from, but I also can definitely, think that people that aren't in or I'll say we're not in their financial lane, not the other way around, but since we're not in their lane financially, I feel like we don't even have the ability to comprehend, the the types of situations they get into involving relationships and finances, because at that level of wealth, everything's tied together. You know what I mean? Just as we were just talking about, like Bill Gates and Melinda Gates, when they got divorced, like that literally almost like divided the company literally because stocks went down from Microsoft, way down for about a week. And then, of course, the divorce settlement money was paid over to his wife. Same thing happened with Jeff Bezos. Stock went down for Amazon for like a few days. So it's like, you know what I mean? They're more focused on legacy, and at that level of wealth, everything is intertwined. So you can't separate the love or the relationship from the company, because at that point, it is the brand. Like, you are the brand. So it's like, that's how I view it. It's like a high value man may not cheat or quote unquote exercise his exercise his options, or he may do that, but I view it as if he allows the same to his woman, which the majority of them do. Like, I don't see anybody, like out here just, I can do this, but you can't, just because I make, this quote unquote amount of money. Of course, I'm not in that, I'm not in that league to have been around that, but, I've never once heard of a situation like that. Whereas other situations I've heard of where, the high value man gives leeway to his woman because he's a high value man, and because he has options, he doesn't, his woman have options. So that's how I view it.
Yeah, I agree and disagree with you on some of these statements about high value men and what have you. I agree openly about open relationships, and about how like, hey, if you're in an open relationship, hey, it is what it is. But in terms of relationship is concerned, hey, we are not on their lane in terms of financial lanes or what have you. So we, like you said, we don't know what's really going on with the situations that they get into and what have you. So sometimes we don't really. Sometimes I feel like, hey, sometimes we have an opinion, but we just don't know all the information and what have you when it comes to regarding that, the whole situations and how they build, and another example I can use, Dr. Dre. He got divorced with his wife, and then the wife wanted to get all the music from him, and he was like, no, he made the music long before he met her. So
exactly. That's why I encourage all these men. I'm here to get a prenup.
Yep.
If you're still looking to marry, I know there's a lot of men, who the idea of marriage is kind of, dwindling nowadays in this era. But if you are looking to still marry, guys, get a prenup.
Yep.
Get a prenup. If you have any form of wealth before that marriage, before you met that woman, get a prenup.
Yes, sir. Get you a prenup, sir. Get a prenup. Make sure she ain't get nothing if things go bad.
And if she says no or has any hesitation to it, I would be side-eyeing her. I would be like, just follow that. Take heed to that, guys. Just anybody listening.
Yep. Take one and get you a prenup. Make sure she can't get nothing. Anything bad happens, she ain't gonna get nothing. The only thing she gonna get is the kids. Ship her off the kids, and you get all the money in the well. Yep. Great job, but it's over. Here's the kids. Yeah, man, but yeah, just going into the whole black masculinity thing. What are your overall thoughts on the whole black masculinity, it being under attack and what have you?
I feel like I feel like we need more masculinity because there's a lot of talk about toxic masculinity, which is a quote that's a term that's been used widely to describe men acting advantageous towards women, or men acting in their place of the hierarchy, or men acting, condescending towards women, or just looking at men as overall brutes. That's kind of the concept of toxic masculinity. And I believe that concept actually isn't even a concept, because the reason I believe that is, if you look at what creates quote unquote toxic masculinity, it's the same the same women who complain about it are the same women who create it. And the way that happens is because we were just talking about all these single mother homes,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and there's a war between black women and black men. When that war is going on and there's no peace, and you literally have the mother just hating the black man, or any black man for that reason, not even hers, it's obviously going to affect the kid in that household. So I think that single mother homes are detrimental to black boys because the cycle of trauma will literally continue with the black male and black female feud. And then, they literally end up raising, an emotional black male, and, the male who has no father figure to teach him, how to handle things when shit hits the fan or when life gets tough, you know what I mean? How to just, keep a stoic attitude and keep about your, keep your masculine frame and keep, pushing through. But no, when we have single mother households, and I'm a victim of a single mother household myself, so this isn't even, being me subjective. This is completely objective because I'm admitting, I had a lot of unlearning to do as, a child from a single mother home. Like, I was very emotional growing up. Like, seriously. Like, I'm glad, I'm more in touch with my emotions than a lot of guys out here. But, man, like, I had to do a whole lot of unlearning, man, because, shoot, you had met me years ago. I don't know, early high school, man. Just, like, I was a little punk, man. Like, just, like, and, I love my mother, but, man, I hate that shit. Like, I hate that shit, man. Like, it's like, you gotta have a balance, you know what I mean? Like, you gotta have that balance of emotion and ruggedness, you know what I mean? That a balance of aggression, assertiveness, and love. You gotta have a certain balance because not only is the lack of masculinity affecting the household, but then that boy goes out, who becomes a man, which is still a boy in the brain, you know what I mean? Because he's not fully developed, because he doesn't have an equal balance of both sides to develop. And he goes out into the world and continues that trauma, you know what I mean? Because he's emotional and, something might happen, that's why niggas get shot every day, you know what I mean? Like, because people don't know how to control their emotions. And that all stems back to these, single parent households. And people, not knowing how to control themselves, their emotions, and how they feel about certain situations without it going to another level, because they can't think through it logically. They have to think through it emotionally.
Well, they have to use the gun. Let the gun do the talking. Or, sorry to cut you off, but it's just let the gun do the talking to get into an emotional state. Like, there's been certain situations at Smith where we're at a gym jam, we're at a party, we're having a good time. Somebody always got to take out a gun, or they beefing over a woman, or some other bullshit.
It's it's just simple. It's a simple emotional response, with no logic thought about. But that's the thing. Males are literally based in logic. This is science. This is not me. It's not my opinion. Males tend to have a more logic, or use the side of their brain that uses logic and reason more than women. Women tend to use the side of their brain that uses emotion and creativity more than logic and reason. Yeah. Which is why, these things tend to happen. It's simple causation, not correlation, causation. And, women try to, a lot of women try to say nowadays, we're trying to bash them because we're saying, they're not providing logical arguments. They're simply doing it out of emotion. But the argument we're providing to provide that argument is simply based on logic. It's not, you get what I'm saying? And it's like emotional response to that. It's like you're not even getting anywhere. So it's like, I just feel like, as far as masculinity, so we need more, more masculine figures in our households. But to do that, of course, we're going to have to go back to the system and just try to prevent, our opposite shade from preventing our families from uniting. But to do that, we have to, it's a multi-tiered system, because to do this, you have to do that. To do that, you have to do this. But to do any of that, we have to come together first and unite and stop this war. You know what I mean? We have to stop feuding with each other, because the more that women complain about toxic masculinity, the more it will be. Because not only are you complaining and then creating the toxic masculinity, but the people that you're complaining to are men, because you're not complaining to women about toxic masculinity, you're complaining to men about it. And when men, hear all these complaints that have nothing to do with them, you know what I mean? And it's simply subjective because of somebody else's perspective. They're going to have, they're going to feel away, which is, why part of the reason why black men are pushing back now, and, they're starting this whole men go their own way movement and all this, and that's why there's incels now and all these groups coming up, because men are just simply getting tired. But, I understand that. I really do, because I'm tired, man. But at the same time, man, instead of getting tired, man, we just got to work together, and nobody seems to want to do that, at all. It's a really, messed up situation, but the more, the more complaining, the worse it's going to get. And it sucks to say, but it's true. And, there's definitely an agenda, being pushed, like we said, to emasculate the black man already. And I just, I ask our brothers and sisters not to help the enemy, help ourselves. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I agree with you on that.
You know what I mean? We got to do better for ourselves.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, man. When it comes to the whole black masculinity and toxic masculinity and how, the black man's being affected. And also when it comes back to single mothers, I grew up first half of my life, in the single parent household and stuff. And then, had mom got, remarried to or married to my stepdad, whatever. And he's a great masculine role. I also had masculine roles in my life. I had my uncle. He was kind of like one of the first people to actually teach me how to fight and stuff. And we would do little boxing matches and everything. I'll play with my cousins. We do boxing matches, or we do wrestling and some shit. And then it would be awesome. So yeah, I have a little bit of both perspectives in me, where I can understand the whole growing up with a single mom and everything, and she's doing her best and stuff. But at the end of the day, a man needs a masculine presence in his life. Otherwise, you're gonna get these emotional men or these thugs, because that's what all these thugs are. These thugs are really emotional men who can't think logically, or it's been bred out of them to think logically. They think with the gun, they think with their emotions, they think with anger and all this stuff. They don't think logically, they don't sit back and stop and think. That's why you got all this shooting and killing going on, because you got all these men who are very emotional and they can't think with their head straight. So that's why you need the masculine role in the household and stuff, and not have this whole single mother concept. You need whole black families getting together, and black women and black women getting together and everything, and stop this divide and stuff. Like you said, that's why it's groups. And speaking of toxic masculinity, I feel like it also goes into cancel culture, where whenever you do speak out against this, you're going to get canceled. You're getting canceled. You're getting canceled. You're getting shut down. You're getting shut down. Like there was a situation that happened with Nick Cannon. He got shut down. And then this whole cancel culture. So, Tyler, I have two questions. What's your thoughts on cancel culture, how it affects black people, and how it affects black masculinity in general?
Well, shoot. I feel about cancel culture specifically. Of course, I mean, it affects black culture, but cancel culture, let me just put it this. Cancel culture, the streets ain't safe for nobody. Nobody, not a soul, not just black people, not just no specific culture, man. Cancel culture is out for that ass. And I'm talking about for everybody, man. Like, we have seen a plethora of individuals taken down by, this culture of, Gen Z and just, these super woke, quote unquote, so woke millennials, trying to just have an input on a conversation that was never theirs. And that's my problem, It's because it's so dangerous, man. Cancel culture affects any and everyone. It's so dangerous, man, and there's no time limit to it. Like you can literally go back years, man, like decades ago, and catch somebody saying some shit where they weren't even, serious. They were just joking around, and they can affect somebody's livelihood today. Like that's a scary thing, bro. Not just their livelihood, but their entire family, because they're connected to their entire family's livelihood. Some of these people are the breadwinners, and their family is dependent upon them to provide for them. So, man, these people who are just going back and digging up, random things or trying to find dirt on people is who we should really cancel. Like, honestly, that's how I feel. It's like, man, like, what's the end goal? Like, are you just trying to sanitize the earth with everything, that's a sin? Because that's impossible. That was already tried. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
you already, you know what I mean? Like, way back in the day. But it's like, all cancel culture is, like, if you can literally, it even has alliteration, peer pressure and cancel culture.
Yep.
That's how you don't even say it. Like, literally, that's all cancel culture is.
It's just peer pressure. You got all these people caving and just bowing down to these people who are just finding dirt, and I'm just like, this is stuff from 20 years ago. Why are you trying to bring it up now? Like, it's no purpose.
It's peer pressure with a consequence. And that's the difference because, like, back in the day, you were a kid, you could be pressured into something, but if you ain't do it, what was the worst you get? You get called, like names or something, like a little punk, something like that. You don't want to do it. But if you say something that you really stand on and believe now, you know what I mean? And it doesn't even have to be factual. It can be an opinion, which is mostly what people get canceled on now aren't even like stating lies. It's just their personal opinion. You can say that nowadays, and man, it will seriously screw you over. Like cancel culture is encroaching upon our freedom of speech. That's how I believe. That's what I believe. Like literally, because when you can be swayed to change your words or change your views publicly about something, that's literally fucking peer pressure, bro. And that's affecting your freedom of speech. There's actually laws against that. Like there are laws against somebody being able to what's the word? There's laws against people being able to sway, like, your beliefs or sway what you're saying, if it's affecting them negatively. And that's in the workforce, that's everywhere. Like, that's literally even included when people do libel, or like, libel, and there's another word, so I can't recall it right now, but like when you're lied about in the press publicly, like, you can actually sue somebody for that. It's called defamation. So like literally, like, you can cancel somebody now, and that's not considered defamation of character. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's not considered Bible. That's not considered all this, quote unquote, blah blah blah. But it's just like you can ruin somebody's life nowadays. Damn, literally with a push of a button, with a tweet. You know what I mean? And it's like, people don't think about who they're affecting. They don't think about why they're doing what they're doing. They just want to be a part of a conversation, a bigger conversation that A, they didn't start, and two, they never had business being. Because I hate that. Like, I hate when people in cancel culture who have nothing to do with something in the culture that they're trying to affect. Like say hip hop. Like let's take the most recent example, the baby. You know what I mean? Like, he quote unquote got canceled, even though he's still making music or whatever, but he definitely took a hit. Like, he took a hit, views, marketing, all that. He's not being promoted like he was. That's the most that's the most recent example. So like, he apologized, right? But of course, you can see his PR team wrote that up to him. People were still like, not rocking with the baby. They were still upset with him, and then after he apologized twice, still not cool with him. It was like, okay, you're doing better. But it's just like, damn if you do, damn if you don't. Because then when he stood on it and took it down, it's like, oh, he was never real about it anyway. It's just like, bro, you just do what you're gonna do, honestly, and let the people do what they're gonna do, because they'll gravitate to you if they mess with you, and they won't if they won't, man. Because I feel like cancel culture, you can you can literally get canceled for shit like that. Literally just trying to appease, your own fans, and trying to appease the masses. You can get canceled if you appease the wrong side. So it's just like, man, it's a bunch of tiptoeing going on. You know what I mean? And people are afraid to stand on what they believe in, or even share a post that they agree with. Like even me, man. Like sometimes I'll see a post on Facebook or something, I be wanting to share it so bad. I'm like, man, and it's not even that I don't want to, like, not that I'm scared of the backlash. It's just the energy, bro. Like energy takes to you know what I mean? Just get involved with a conversation. Like you can't even have a conversation with somebody anymore, because once somebody wants to cancel you, it's no conversation being had anymore. It's more of this aggression and hate. It's just, like, get them out of here. You can't even teach somebody about something they don't know anymore. Or if we take the DaBaby example specifically, they quote unquote want to teach him about the LGBTQA community, and it's just like, bro, he knows about them. Like who do you think? Like, you know what I mean? Like, who do you think he is? Like a fool? Like, you think he's just been living under a rock? Like, that's the thing that really gets me. It's just like, that's peer pressure, bro. It's just like, you're trying to bully him, and that's literally bullying. It's like you're trying to make him do something he doesn't want to do. Cancel culture is probably, in my opinion, the most dangerous online threat since cyber sex.
Mm.
And I even say, I'm probably gonna get quote unquote canceled or a lot of backlash for saying this, but I even say the damn cyber sex trafficking isn't as global as cancel culture, man. Cancel culture, like, you literally, with the invention of social media and the internet, man, you can literally press a button and your info and your data or whatever is in that post, is really accessible globally instantaneously. So it's not like, it's not like, once it's up there, you can take it down. It's just, because once it's up, it's out. So, people forget what they said years ago, and they were just joking around and having locker room talk, man. You better get to either clear or just, man, keep your head low, because no one's safe out here in these streets of cancel culture. I promise that.
Yeah, man, I agree with you on that when it comes to little cancel culture. I feel it's like it doesn't even solve the problem, to be honest with you. Like all it does is just like you blame somebody for what they did years ago, and then you don't talk about why and how you can help them and everything and change or have a dialogue. You don't even want to have dialogue. Just cancel, cancel, cancel. They're still gonna have that same thought process. At least have a dialogue with them before they can change.
It's the easy way out, because it makes it seem like they care. It makes it seem like you're doing something right for the culture, for the community. Like they're, this, bigger than life, or this, goody two shoes that's, just never done anything wrong. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, we're superhuman. Like we're just going around there saving people from the evil of this toxic masculinity and LGBT bigotry and stuff. And really, they probably have the same thoughts as these people, but they're probably just, doing it for virtual signaling. That's all it really is, virtual signaling. And then I feel like when it comes back to the black community, it's affecting the black community because this whole thing of toxic masculinity and bringing down the black man, it's all this is comes like cancel culture. Oh, you can't do this. Oh, you're doing this. Oh, that's the type of thing. It's just like, it's not even really affecting people. You're not even trying to have a dialogue so they can change or do or get better and stuff, or to explain to them why it's wrong and whatever. You're just basically like, oh, just cancel them just cause. And I'm just like, this is something that they wrote years ago. People change, people grow, people evolve and stuff. You can't just get mad at what somebody said years ago. Think of the mindset and what they were saying and what have you.
Not only that, but like it's also dangerous because like because of the influence people have, and if like let's say if somebody's super influential, let's say I don't know, maybe let's say the president, let's say Joe Biden, made a tweet. He said, you such and such, right? The people that let's say like whatever demand he gave out was just like ridiculous, like literally like I'll say let's say he said, all right, citizens of America, like go jump off a bridge or something crazy like that, right? And then people hold on, I gotta take that back. That was a bad example. But like, yeah, like let's say, all right, let me use somebody we've already used, so it'll be easier. Like maybe Kevin Samuels, right? Let's say the good advice he gives out. Let's say there's a call to action to cancel him, which of course there have already been many, including a petition, which by the way didn't work. But I want to say, let's say there's a new, a wave to cancel Kevin Samuels. He's giving out all this good advice, right? But he has this big platform and this big, influence on people. Let's say that somebody else of equal influence or equal power calls out Kevin Samuels and says, cancel him. You got to realize that because of these people with their huge influence and power, what they're saying doesn't always have to be right or, in any way, like, backed up by logic. You can just say it, and the people, because they mess with you, are going to listen to you, and, your followers are going to support you and do exactly what you want them to do. So when you, literally come out here and say, cancel this person, you don't, you may not even know, the situation or this person that they're even speaking of. You might not even know who that is or what they've done. You might literally, it's just literally like the same thing as like YouTubers. It's just the same concept of YouTubers making a call to action, and then people in their comments trolling. Like you literally have trolls in the cancel culture who literally just ride the wave of anything canceled. Because it's just they're part of something. It's not because they want to seem good. It's not, of course you got those people, but you got these trolls, in the ethosphere who is like they don't want to seem good. They don't want to seem bad. It's just they enjoy being part of this culture where they can do something, what I mean, and affect somebody else's life. And that's dangerous because you literally have these trolls who have no idea or no knowledge of the people they're canceling, but yet they have all the power to cancel somebody like that. But they get this power from the person who influences them, which is why I say these people with large platforms and influence, man, they got to be careful. I wouldn't even, be getting involved in these cancel trends, man, if I was somebody with that much influence, because, man, what you say holds weight, and it may be wrong and it may be right, but regardless, what's done is done. Once you say something, it can't be taken back. You know what I mean? Like you can destroy somebody's life by uttering 3-4 words and then letting your subscribers do the rest. Like, you know what I'm saying? And then that person that you're canceling could have been completely, innocent, even if they, were accused of doing something like despicable and something that's not an opinion. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know, something just. Let's take a Bill Cosby incident, but like, not necessarily that, but something as bad.
The R. Kelly incident situation.
Yeah, somebody being accused of something like that, you know what I mean? Oh, let's cancel them, you know what I mean? And then come to find out it didn't happen. Well, you can't take the cancel back now, you know what I'm saying? You can't do that. Like, look at Tory Lanez. Why is he not in prison? Because obviously, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's something to it. Like, obviously, he would have been in prison by now if he shot back, It's not it, man. And this is just basic, like, logic, bro. This isn't like, you know what I mean? This is like, literally, and this isn't just me speaking. Like, there's statements from correctional officers, government officials. There's statements even from people within the actual incident themselves that can back up the legal proceedings in which I'm talking about and how the legal system operates, and especially where it happened, like in LA, man, LAPD is like one of the most strict police departments, bro. They literally like, it's just all this. And I was using that as an example because, it's probably the best and most recent I could think of. But, like I said, man, using that example, man, anybody can be canceled for anything. It may not even be warranted, but, oh well, it's too late. They're canceled now, you know what I mean? And people with that level of influence and power should definitely be careful on what they say and how they say it and who they're talking to, man, because you can be out here destroying lives knowingly or unknowingly. The people who do it knowingly are evil. That's sick.
Yeah, that's the whole cancel culture. Is like, instead of just cancel people, you need to have a dialogue and just think and just talk to people and just like get to know them. Like, hey, like this is wrong because such and such and such. Instead of just, oh no, cancel. Like, nah, just gotta talk to them, have some dialogue and stuff. And the whole going back to this overall thought process, the whole black masculinity being under attack. It's like, hey, listen, men are need to be masculine. That's just who we are as people. Women are feminine. That's just how they are. Whenever you try to mix the roles and everything else, things fall into chaos. This is what you're seeing now.
It's such a problem, to state facts now. You know what I mean? It's like all of a sudden, it's like we're stating things that have been stated for centuries, man, millennia, not even centuries, millennia. Like these are facts. Like, of course, we're gonna base our thoughts upon logic and facts. Why wouldn't we? Like, it's just, I don't know, man. It's just crazy, man, because the more we try to cancel people, and the more we try to do all this, based off of emotion, man, like the less, it's kind of crazy, but the less logical people you have to damn combat it. You know what I mean? Like, unfortunately, like I said, there's got to be a balance, and that balance is within, but, it's also external, because once you have a imbalance of emotional people out here versus rational thinkers, then, imagine, just take this. Imagine a bunch, say U.S. was 90% emotional people, not just men, but men and women, or trans and all that. 90% was of our decision were emotionally based, and this is in government, politics, socio-demographics, all this. Like, emotionally based decisions. Think of how differently our society would be. But no, you have the people who are based off of logic, running office. Say we had a society full of 90% of that. How vastly different that would be. And it just goes to show, that there's an imbalance that's continuing to grow of, emotional people. And the cancel culture is led by emotion. There's no logic in it, you know what I mean? Because when you're canceled, when you're making a call to action, you're calling somebody to be canceled. And that's like, that's not a logic-based decision to cancel somebody, you get what I'm saying? That's literally because you don't want them to, whoever made the call to action, you don't want them to be as big, and you don't want them to have the lifestyle that they were living, and you don't want them to catch as much attention as they were getting, or previously. So the whole idea of cancel culture is emotional.
Yeah. And my thoughts going into like the whole closing out the podcast is like, when it comes to cancel culture, everything, like you said, is very emotional, peer pressure with a consequence, all that. And it's just like, people, like I said before, we need to have a dialogue instead of just constantly, cancel. We can just have a dialogue with people and just like explain to them why this is what it is and such, versus just canceling people and just having this emotional response and creating these emotional men and what have you, and not creating constructive criticism and what have you. So like, that's my closing thoughts. Tyler, you have anything to add, brother?
Nah, that was it, man. I appreciate you for having me on.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on here, man. This is Dab Dale, the Black Evolution. We signing off. Listen to this great outro music. Hey, 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 hey. Make sure y'all catch next week's episode, ladies and gentlemen. We on the way to becoming great. Support black businesses. Men get a prenup. Alright, signing off. Hey, 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 hey.